I made it to Cedar Point on a drizzly Saturday evening, and it looks like a light crowd, especially by Saturday standards, but really by any day standards here. It is 5:30, plenty of time. They close at 11 tonight. Obviously, Gatekeeper is running. In fact, this is day 10 of my trip. I still have not ridden a B&M on this trip. The only B&M at any of the parks I've been to was Patriot at Worlds of Fun on my first day. And of course it was closed because it's a B&M and B&Ms are so unreliable. It was the only ride closed at the park. And every other park I've been to has not had a B&M. So day 10 of the trip, it's only appropriate that my first B&M ride would be on Gatekeeper. One of my favorite B&Ms. I see they still have the 150 up on the inside there. So yes, this is the 4th year of the 150-year celebration. Back in 2018 when I came here for almost a week, I got here a day early. That Saturday night, it was rain in the forecast and no one was here. It was such a light crowd, and it looks like that'll be the same tonight. Now, difference is that there is more rain coming here. When I was here in 2018, the rain was done by the time I got here. So everything was open. This is my first look at all this. No more Wicked Twister and the Wild Mouse over there. So that's the line. It's on the stairs at both sides. You can't beat that. I rode Gatekeeper first in a very light mist, and then I rode it in a almost a moderate rainfall, but that was a lot of fun. That just reminds me why I love this ride so much. I think I like this more than Thunderbird. Thunderbird might be more intense, but this is just such a fun ride. It's a beautiful setting. Just everything about it. I just love it so much. It's so smooth, no matter where you sit. And I don't say that about a lot of B&Ms. B&Ms tend to rattle on me, but this one, I got no problems with. I could ride this all day long, nonstop. After riding some rough wooden coasters for the last week, this was refreshing. I've had a nice Gatekeeper marathon today. Got 7 rides in the evening time here, a couple night rides, and now I'm gonna finish off with as many Millennium Force rides as I can get. I got one earlier today, and I was in row 2, which is almost like row 1. And yeah, there were a lot of bugs out there. And I'm reminded why I like this more than Fury. I know, I understand why some people would like Fury more. I do get it now. However, Millennium Force makes me feel something on a level that's beyond what Fury can give me. Fury is alongside a parking lot in a field full of garbage. Millennium Force is running right alongside the lake. It is just gorgeous. The sense of speed is just so surreal. I know the elements that Fury does, the high-speed turns, actually do add something to the ride. However, there's something about the sense of speed of Millennium Force that just takes it to a different level for me. I understand people saying they like Fury better. Makes total sense, but for me, I prefer Millennium Force. Doesn't have as much airtime as Fury, but it is good airtime. I finished the night with 2 awesome night rides on Millennium Force, and it is hauling. That might be the best it's ever ridden. The airtime was incredible. The sense of speed, there's just nothing like it. Other than maybe Fury, but I think Millennium Force does it a little bit better. Now, I did do one ride on Magnum, and it was not riding good at all. That was awful. I hope it rides better later in the trip. But that ride reminds me of my first ever ride on it back in 2014 when I hated it. That was pretty bad. Let's see, what else did I do? I got on Blue Streak. That was riding great. And Raptor, which was, you know, was okay. If you've watched my vlogs, you know I'm not a big Raptor fan, but that was all right. I probably won't ride Raptor again, but I don't know, maybe, if the line is super short. Very foggy morning. Top Thrill Dragster is in the clouds. And I see that they are still doing assigned parking, or at least they're attempting to. I still say in a big wide open parking lot, especially early in the day, we can see what spaces are open. We know how to park our cars. We're not idiots. In fact, they were blowing their whistle at me when I actually took a worse spot to fill in a gap that they had left. If I had went where they wanted me to go, I would have been closer, but there would have been a gap. So they're not even doing a very good job of it. I have not seen this operating in 5 years. On my visits, at least, it has not been operating since the summer 2018. But here during early entry, it's just Platinum Pass holders, Prestige Pass holders, and resort guests. Gatekeeper and Millennium Force are open for early entry. The Wild Mouse is open for early entry, so I'm gonna get this coaster credit knocked out. I thought it was an interesting choice to add a low capacity ride at Cedar Point. So that is my 11th consecutive day with a new coaster credit. I was on Maisie, and honestly, that was really lame. We did not spin at all. I think on the brake run, it automatically spun us to get back in position. That was really our only spin. And it is very uncomfortable. Like, the way the restraints push against the center of my upper body, like almost right up against my heart and the upper part of my belly, it made it kind of hard to breathe. It was very uncomfortable. I thought Zambezi Zinger was going to be the worst of the new for 2023 coasters, but no, that goes to this. Yeah, that's more like it. On my way walking over to Millennium Force from Wild Mouse, I was feeling a lot of pain in my sternum and my ribs, a little bit in my back. Those restraints on Wild Mouse for some of those turns. Now, I said it didn't spin much, but it still had those few those hairpin turns. And they were painful, yes, but I was feeling the pain even worse on my walk afterwards, walking over here. I never thought that something that isn't an over-the-shoulder restraint would hurt that badly. I'm going as far to say that I think Wild Mouse is going to be in my bottom 10 coasters I've ever ridden. Never thought that something could hurt worse than Coast Rider. That isn't an over-the-shoulder restraint, but yeah, Wild Mouse here at Cedar Point takes it. I went from the worst restraints of all time on Wild Mouse to the best restraints of all time, the glorious T-bars. Love the clamshells on B&M's, Hypers too, but T-bars are my favorite. I just waited 35 minutes to ride Corkscrew. I waited shorter for Steel Vengeance this morning. Magnum is an hour. That tells you how busy today is. Well, the rainy day yesterday, I think a lot of people came today instead. So Maverick's about a 2-hour wait, and Steel Vengeance, yeah, that's probably not happening either. I actually saw them stuck on the lift hill while riding Cedar Creek Mine Ride, and they're still there. You gotta come to Cedar Point with different expectations than other parks. The big ticket items, Steel Vengeance, Maverick, Millennium Force, things like that, you gotta expect to only get to ride them once, if you can even get that. Fortunately, I have ridden all 3 of those once today. I have Millennium Force twice, but that's about as good as you can ever hope for these days at Cedar Point. That's just how it is now. Get your rides on Gemini. They can put out 60 people per cycle with the 2 trains. Cedar Creek Mine Ride doesn't get much of a line. Corkscrew, for some reason, is getting a long line now. So maybe just skip that one, unless you don't have the credit. Maverick is, I've never seen the line as long as it is now. I'm gonna call today a little early this time. It's unusual for me, but I did not get good sleep last night, and I need a half day off. With how hard I've been going for a week and a half, it'll be nice to just relax for the evening. And lines are super long today, so it's a good time to do it. At this point, I've gotten at least 1 ride on all the coasters, except the kiddie coasters. And this is in the outdoor dining area of the new restaurant. They have indoor dining too, if it's rainy or hot. But it's really nice out here today. Although Ohio people think it's hot. Yeah, they need to come to Oklahoma. This is not hot. Yes, this is what I wanted to see. Steel Vengeance testing. 25 minutes early. Rode Millennium Force 1 time. The line got long super quick. If I had gone for a second ride, it would have taken me past the 10 o'clock hour. If not, I certainly would have been past 10 o'clock by the time I got here. Don't stop there. The ride opened late at 10:32, but I got 2 rides in the 54 minutes since. I did row 10, then the front row. I only had to wait 1 extra cycle for the front row. I did back row yesterday. I got 5 laps on Gatekeeper in about 1 hour and 15 minutes. Line was super short around lunchtime. It's built up a little bit of a line now, but that's mostly because they're having problems with one of the trains. And right now they just announced that they're gonna take that train off the track. So that'll create another little delay. But still, it's so nice, high capacity ride, great operations, keeps that line moving. But for the longest time, Valraven has been my number 6 in the park. With no more Top Thrill Dragster, it moves up to number 5, followed by Magnum and Gemini. However, after that ride on Blue Streak, that might be my number 5 in the park. I got row 3, and I know row 1 gives great airtime. That was my first ride in row 3, and that was insane. I guess it's true with these 3-row cars for these wooden coasters. Car 1, row 3. And nobody took row 3 there. That's a crime. So I finished the night with a night ride, last ride of the night, on Millennium Force in the front row, yellow train, sort of last ride of the night. It's actually employee ride time tonight. Not sure what is open for the employee ride time. Millennium Force probably will be. That's good for them. They deserve to have that kind of time to enjoy the rides. I did 3 on Steel Vengeance today. Very lucky to have gotten that. It was down a lot today. When it was up, it had a massively long line. Got 1 on Maverick, always lucky to get 1 on it. And 4 in total on Millennium Force, 2 night rides. 7 on Gatekeeper, 3 on Blue Streak, 2 on Valraven. Still haven't done a second ride on Magnum. That was pretty bad for me the other day. Kind of hesitant to go on it again. Considering that I woke up with a dead battery, I'm happy to be only 2 hours late. So I missed early entry, missed the first hour park operations, but hey, could have been a lot worse. Thank goodness for AAA. They did not have my battery, but they sent me to Advanced Auto Parts. So. I have a feeling I'm going to be in for it today. This is the fast lane line for Raptor. I mean, this is Raptor. Come on now. I know Raptor is better than what I make it out to be, but it is not good enough to warrant waiting in that kind of line. If you got fast lane, why in the world are you wasting it on Raptor? Unless you can just walk right up, and you cannot walk right up right now. It is a long line for fast lane. If I spent the money on fast lane, there's no way I'm waiting for Raptor. It's a good ride, it ain't that good. If I'm gonna wait in a line for fast lane, I'm gonna pick a much better ride than Raptor. Yeah, another typical day at Cedar Point. Everything's broken. Steel Vengeance ran for like 2, maybe 3 cycles, and then it broke again. See, Gatekeeper broke, Magnum broke when I was in line, Steel Vengeance broke on my way over here, Mavericks broke. Well, I got on, my buddy didn't. We decided to separate to test it. I went to the lockers, put my stuff in. He went through the other line, the non-locker line, because they have you in 2 separate lines. If you have to get a locker, you go to the left side line. If you don't need a locker, you go to the right side line. Well, he went through the right side line, the metal detector. I went, got a locker, waited a while to get through, even to get into the covered portion. Took a little while. I still got on the ride 3 cycles before him. So that's the key for the few people who watch my channel. If you don't have anything to put into one of the free lockers, go into the free locker area anyway and pretend, and then go to the left side line, because it'll get you on quicker. And considering that this thing breaks down all the time, you need to get through as quick as possible. And the reason why it's quicker is because it is a shorter track length. Not sure what to call that track. We're usually thinking of roller coaster track when I talk about walking track. It's a shorter track length on the left side line than the right side line. So go to the left side line even if you don't need a free locker. Just pretend like you do. It's just one of those things. He's still waiting up in the station, hoping to go. He was on the train, about to go, got kicked off. Now they sent out 2 empties, so hopefully he didn't give up and he's gonna just wait it out. Now people at the very back of the line, I don't blame them for leaving right now. I've been avoiding Magnum all week because the line has been actually longer than this all week. This is the shortest I've seen it. I remember Magnum used to be like 10 minutes when everything else was over an hour. Now Magnum is 45 minutes minimum. Gemini is such a saving grace when this park is busy, which is every single day. Although I don't know where the blue train is. They've been pretty consistent at racing. That line is able to really move quick. Now, a ride that we're used to having a short line on and is not that case anymore is Magnum. And that's it from this visit to Cedar Point. It was definitely a rough one. 4 days here, 2 rides on Maverick. Maverick was down way more often than it was up. When it was up, the line was insane. Did get 5 rides on Steel Vengeance, which over 4 days you might think that that's bad, but actually for Cedar Point, that's actually pretty good. And that can be frustrating for some people, especially if you're not used to that. You're used to going to parks and having 4 days. You're expecting a bunch of rides, even on their best. But that's just not the case here. Most of you know that Cedar Point has always drawn huge crowds, and most of you know that it's only gotten worse in recent years. Well, that's an understatement. This was way, way, way worse than my visit 2 years ago as far as crowds go. Now, I've had enough experience here that getting even only 2 rides on Maverick over 4 days, I'm happy with it. It's better than 0. It's unfortunate that Cedar Point has gotten to that point, but that's just where we're at. That if you can get 1 or 2 on one of their best, then consider yourself lucky, even if it took you 4 days to get it. I'm sure I'll be back at some point, but I'm just not sure if I'll do another trip like this where I spend almost 4 full days. Parts of 5 days, actually. I had 3 full days and a half, and this was supposed to be a half, but I'm leaving a little early. So I was planning 4 days out of it, but Maverick's still closed, so I'm not gonna get another ride on it. I got 3 rides on Magnum over 4 days. Magnum used to be the one that, well, when everything else is long, you just go ride Magnum. Nope, not anymore. Magnum's one of the longest lines in the park now. Millennium Force, yeah, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. Gatekeeper, over an hour. Yeah, that's just where we're at right now with Cedar Point. So just hope for a rainy day, because rainy days is when the crowd is much lighter. I only got 1 of those. Unfortunately, Maverick was closed that whole evening. I'm sure I'll be back at some point, at least to ride the reimagined Top Thrill Dragster, but don't know about doing a full long stay here again. The crowds are just too much here, because it's not just about the amount of people that are showing up to this park. It's really Cedar Point itself. The operations here are getting worse. They're getting slower and slower, and the rides are breaking down all the time. I've never seen breakdowns at any park this bad. Ride breakdowns have always been bad at Cedar Point, but it has gotten exponentially worse recently. And yes, even the B&Ms keep breaking down. I think Valraven actually was probably one of the best at staying up. I don't know if I ever heard of Valraven going down, but Gatekeeper, yep. Raptor, yep. Rougarou, everything. Millennium Force actually was pretty good. I only heard of it breaking down a couple times, and those were brief. And Cedar Point, they messed up my drink plan. I don't know what happened to it, but I have not had that problem at any other Cedar Fair park, but they messed it up here. I'm hoping that when I get to Kings Island, it won't be that way anymore. I hope it'll be fixed at their park, that it's a Cedar Point only problem. But if Cedar Point actually messed me up on that, I went into guest services and they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't fix it. I'll bet Kings Island can. If it's still messed up over there, I'll bet they can fix it. Cedar Point can't. So my last ride of the trip was Gemini. Never had that as my last ride of a Cedar Point visit. A Gemini was a saving grace. It was never broke down, and it was always a reasonable line.